Welcome back to Essential Leadership Skills. Today, we're delighted to welcome Michelle B. Griffin, a leading personal branding and PR expert for solo professionals. She's the co-author of the LinkedIn Branding Book, a guide transcending the typical business book, offering actionable strategies to shine on LinkedIn. As one half of Michelle Squared, alongside Michelle J. Raymond, she provides empowering and straightforward advice to help you create a distinct and authentic brand. The book embodies their highly regarded podcast, The LinkedIn Branding Show, combining their experiences and knowledge in sales and marketing to help others build successful LinkedIn brands. So let's dive into the conversation with the branding maestro and 80s music enthusiast Michelle B. Griffin. Welcome back, Michelle.
This is a Touchstone Publishers presentation, your trusted source of leadership knowledge.
Good morning, all, and welcome back, Michelle. Appreciate that you're able to spend some more time with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. It's been 2 years since we last spoke. So boy, does time go, and lots of things happen in 2 years.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Just time flies when you don't even think about it half the time. It just goes by really fast. So you've been up to quite a few things, but I just would be curious to find out of all the things you've been working on, and we're going to go in detail on a couple of them. What has just really been your passion project of late?
My passion project is probably taking my framework, which I had back 2 years ago, but it's been rebranded, and I'm taking that out with new products and new programming and new ways to just really help experts get out there in a bigger way, share their expertise, make a bigger impact and income. I'm working on my second book on that as well. Yeah, lots have happened. So I can't wait to dive in and get nitty gritty and help people build their brands.
Let's dive in then, because here's my first question for you. Why is LinkedIn? Why LinkedIn? Why do you feel that's such a powerful branding tool? Because we have Facebook, we have Instagram and YouTube and all that. Why do you think LinkedIn is a powerful branding tool?
It's definitely changed in the last 20 years. It's now 20 years old, and it's no longer that resume dumping site. In the last several years, and especially in the last 2 years, especially, the company's made a real big push to make it more of a personal branding place. It's a place where business is done. It's essentially Facebook for business now in a good way. So it's a way to shine yourself, share your voice, your expertise, meet the right people globally, and write about what you know and what you love and what you can help other people with. So it's got a little bit of everything, especially with their creator platform tools that they bring out now. So I always like to say LinkedIn is your launching pad. In the business world, there's no better place to be seen and to be recognized and make an impact than this platform.
Well, you said something that wasn't on my list of questions, but now that you mentioned it, the creator platform. If we're building a personal and a professional brand, which we'll talk about a little bit, what does the creator platform bring to the table for us?
That's a great question. And LinkedIn, I don't work for them, but I wrote a book about all the things, how to brand yourself. In the last 2 years, I think it was shortly after I was on the podcast 2 years ago, they introduced what they call their creator platform and tools. I was in, and I think I still am in the creator manager program, but essentially it gives you tools and resources to share your ideas, to share your thought leadership, to build a brand with things like newsletters and content platforms and LinkedIn Live and LinkedIn audio events and all other different kind of ways to just promote and optimize your profile for the best way to shed the light of what you do and who you want to impact.
I think you're the one who got me turned on to the creator platform. I'm just not sure I've used it effectively enough yet to really make a difference in how it works and what I'm supposed to do with it. I think the only thing I did with it was put a video on it. I was just walking and talking and just put a little video there. I don't think anybody's even looked at it.
There's a tracker too. You can track who looks at it on your mobile. One fun thing they introduced in the last 6 months, you might want to go do this. Here's an actionable tip from today's show. If you have creator mode turned on, is what they call it, there's now a place where you can put a clickable link. So right under your profile with your name, whatever you want to drive people to, like your website or anything that has a URL link, you can pop it there and it's front and center. So that's a way to brand yourself and drive conversations and connection. So I love that feature. It's probably one of my favorite parts of the creator profile.
We're going to have to get after that then. I thought it was interesting when we looked at the book and you're writing it with another Michelle. You talked about the power of two, but you're actually talking about the power of two, personal branding and professional branding. coach me on that because I haven't quite still figured out the balance whether I should be spending more time on my company page or more time on my personal page or somehow doing both.
The beautiful thing about our book and the philosophy and the brand squared system, or brand squared framework rather, that we introduce in the book, you combine the best of both to help build and amplify each other. So I don't care if you're a solopreneur or an enterprise company, having a company brand and a business brand on LinkedIn where you can cross pollinate, cross promote, and we walk you through in the book how to do it. So there's so many nuances. I don't want to get in the nitty gritty, but they work together. When I first got on LinkedIn heavily, everyone was promoting personal brands. Company pages are just not that. Lo and behold, right around 2020 is December 2020 is when I met Michelle Raymond, my co-author, co-host of the LinkedIn branding show with me. And at that time, she was promoting company pages and company branding on LinkedIn, and everyone just said, forget it. It's just, no one's listening. Everyone's all about the personal branding profile. And she was steadfast in her belief that they will make a bigger impact when you use them. And we connected right away because we said, why are we stripping one or the other? Why not we combine forces, literally and figuratively, and together they have built our brands and our businesses. So that's the whole purpose of the LinkedIn branding book, how to build your personal business brands on LinkedIn and beyond, essentially. And so we introduced something called the Brand Squared System that takes you through the 4 steps, a roadmap, if you will, on how to do exactly that.
And that's the tough thing to do because it takes a little bit of discipline, but a little bit loss of understanding for me. So just quickly, just don't go into detail unless you really want to, but the 4 steps, just keep just
the
walk through them for
framework,
me.
the brand squared framework. So you're combining 2 brands squared, right? And that's why we call ourselves Michelle Squared. So the first one is mindset. Look, if you want to get on LinkedIn, most people do, but there's a thing holding them back, okay? It's the mindset. Now, we identified almost 30 different fears that people face when wanting to get not on just LinkedIn, on social media and doing anything. And we actually took something, the LinkedIn confidence survey we put out there when we were writing the book. And it was an anonymous survey. And we asked people anonymously what holds them back. And it was, we put quotes, direct quotes in there from what we're reading and just what we thought. Those fears are what blocking you. So we say you need to have mindset to get out there because what we'll teach you means nothing if you don't have the belief in yourself, why it matters, where you're going. So we tell you in the 3 ways, there's 3 ways in mindset we help you acknowledge and tackle it. So you're reset there.
Yeah.
Then we walk you. Now you're ready. Now you are ready. You've got that. And listen, mindset, it's a day. If I could make my great idea is to have a daily mindset vitamin. Just like we take a multivitamin daily, we need a mindset vitamin. Our human brains are always getting us off track. We look at someone else. So it's a daily thing. It truly is. But one of the ways you can continue really getting and growing is having a foundation. When you have clarity in who you are, what you stand for, what you believe, who you're here to help, that is a superpower. So part 2 of the framework is all about foundation. It's like setting your goals, building your brand, and having a strategy, a real strategy. We identify and we see in our work daily, people just jump on LinkedIn. They don't know what they're doing. They try it, but they don't have any guardrails and they fall flat. And that makes us really sad in our work. So we're like, nope, you need your foundation first. So we outlined what that would be. And you know the beautiful thing I just want to say about this book? There is also a 50-page actionable workbook for free that you can download and do the work. So we're guiding you through it with this workbook. So I just want to say, if this seems overwhelming, it's not. And it's only a 130-page book. We wanted to make it super non-fluffy because none of us like fluff, right? There's step 2, foundation. And then the fun part comes, fusion. You know what fusion does? It aligns your personal brand and your company brand. So we show you exactly how to do it. We show pictures. We show things. And another thing about our book, Glenn, this isn't just a LinkedIn how-to book or boring branding book. We share our stories. You get Michelle's side of the things, the other Michelle's, our input. So it's like people tell us, wow, I feel like I'm talking to someone over Zoom or my friend over coffee. And that's the exact way we are and how we wanted our book to convey. So once your fusion is set, you've built those brands and you understand how to do it, why it matters, Then you
Yes.
go to the multiplier stage. That's the last step in this framework. You're going to multiply yourself. You're going to learn how to build your community. You're going to find power partners. A power partner, you ask? What is that? A power
Yeah, I
partner
did.
is not just an accountability partner. This is like your business bestie. One person, one side of this person can be your best cheerleader. The other side of the coin, this person can be like your boot camp instructor. Like, you should do this in a gentle way. But this isn't something like, I meet you day one, you're my power partner. It's something you grow and evolve. So we show you
Growing
the
too. Yeah.
steps. So Michelle and I have each other's back. We do collaborate. We share projects, and I send her clients and vice versa. So a power partner is a powerful tool to help multiply you. And then we get into some of the last phase, because I've always said, again, LinkedIn is your launching pad. The world is seeing you on a global stage. It sets you up for success, to be on podcasts, to speak, to get media mentions. I have a background in masters in PR, so I'm always looking at ways to amplify that message to the right people. And so LinkedIn does that in the multiplier stage. So there, in a nutshell, is the brand squared system.
Love it. Love it. There's a couple things that you said there that I'd like to dive into, but one especially, you said you and Michelle share stories. And that seems to be part of the process of the fundamentals of the whole thing, branding stories. But why is that so important?
Because we relate. A brand is the connection, the promise, association you make with someone, right? And so storytelling is a huge part of that. When you tell the stories, especially, let's not talk about in the last 2 years or the last 6 months, but especially since we spoke 2 years ago, the world has been revolutionized by something called ChatGPT and generative AI, and it's changing everything daily, right? So
Right.
we need personalization. We need humanization. We need to be more connected than ever. And so I've always been big on the storytelling in my work. But fun fact in this book, Glenn, we wrote the first draft and we'd meet weekly. And case in point, I don't know if I read, you know this, but she lives in Sydney, Australia. I live
No,
in
I didn't.
Pensacola, Florida. When she is starting her day, I'm wrapping mine up. We're
You're
15
done.
hours apart, so it made it challenging. But anyway, so we got on one of our weekly meetings, and here's a story in itself. And we both looked at each other, and we didn't really want to say it, but we knew something was off. And somehow we just said, this book is crud. I don't want to read it. I don't want to write it. I don't like it. This doesn't sound like us. What is going on here? And we were both actually very disappointed. We had spent so much time.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and we're like, okay, this isn't us. This is not us. We've got to, let's just scrap it. Let's figure out a better way to communicate. Because at the time, we had already launched the LinkedIn branding show. And immediately we're like, we got to write a book about this. Anyway, we devised an idea. We rewrote it. We kept some of it, scrapped a lot. And then we said, you know what? Our stories are what impacts. Stories are what people tell us. That resonates. And so we would do, since we're Michelle Squared, my version of things and her version. And although Michelle and I are so much alike, we think and do different ways. So for instance, she will jump into, as we say, the deep end and the sharks when she has an idea. She'll just go
Yeah.
for it without thinking. Now this Michelle, as in me, I will spend 5 years researching it and tiptoe and procrastinate and no, it's not perfect. So we wrote our stories, and people will come to us every week and say, oh, your book is really cool. I identify with you, Michelle, or the other Michelle. And so that has been a wonderful way to build our brands, sell more books, and just impact people, because we're the people behind. We're not just a boring book. We're the people living it, doing it, and showing you the way so you don't have to make the mistakes we did.
And so the stories kind of make it where it can relate to
Yes,
you. So you're
exactly.
teaching us how to write the stories or put the stories there that relate to others, so they'll come to us for no matter what type of business we're in, or is there any kind of limitations with the type of business where stories need to be involved?
No, all businesses can benefit from stories. And humans are, from the beginning of time, have communicated by stories. Back in the day, we communicated with symbols and storytelling around fires. So our brains are wired for stories, so we need stories. So yes, we talk about all that. And so anyone and everyone should find ways to incorporate stories that teach a lesson, show a journey and a transformation, and humanize it. And a careful point is, stories aren't always about you. They're about the person you're here to serve. That's what makes it interesting. But you got to follow the story arc of a challenger, a character who meets a challenge, and the resolution. And so if you stay with a framework like that, there's a surefire way to just keep people attentive. And that's the problem with today. We have too much information and not enough connection. And so storytelling helps reverse that.
And I like what you said about the storytelling and this powerful lesson. I think it needs to help the other person who's reading it. Not it shouldn't so much about you.
Exactly. We tune
I
out,
like
right?
it.
When we hear someone just talking about them for a few minutes, you might listen and you're like, oh, it's all about them. I don't want to listen. But you tell a story to communicate, usually an example or an illustration of, hey, you're suffering from this. Let me tell you a story, whatever. So people learn from your stories and they can be better from them. That's the goal.
That is a good goal. And I know also in your book, and would you mind just holding it up real quick so everybody can see?
Absolutely. Here we
I
go.
didn't get put a slide up on it. I was going to make a slide and then I lost track
Yeah,
of
no,
my
here we
time. But
go. Yeah.
okay. When you're working through that book, you also talk about defining your target audience. Can you share that a little bit? Just I was talking to a person the other day, and he said everybody wants my message. Back in my mind, I said if Michelle heard you, she'd probably slap you.
Oh my look, yes, that's like the branding 101. Do not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's hard, right? Because we want to help everyone. We want to believe that we're for everyone, but essentially we can't be, right? We don't Google everything, right? When you go and Google, you find a search term or one thing you're looking for. Same thing when we're
Uh,
trying to
Good
attract
analogy.
someone. Yeah, we have to be. The more narrow you can be, you can always go broader. You're going to get more traction. You're going to stand out more with the right wording, the right positioning, and they're like the stories you tell and the content you write and get out there. It's gonna attract the people that need you. So if you just say, for instance, I do marketing, wow, that's huge, right? But then you can narrow it down to B2B marketing or SaaS marketing, or I do B2B personal branding marketing for SaaS leaders. So you just keep going down the thing. But here's the thing, I work with clients all the time that say, I want to help everyone and I don't want to have a niche. And I'm like, oh, this is a challenge. But then I have to reverse their thinking and also get
Mm.
the cliches out of demographics and niche and all that. And here's how I do it, Glenn. I will say in the most general way, hey, I get that you have a lot of ideas and you want to help everyone, but we need to have some guardrails. Let's flip it this way. What are you most passionate about, equipped, and want to help people solve a problem for? Because storytelling is really, like I said, solving a problem, taking someone on a journey. So if you can put it in the context of, I'm going to help you solve this problem. I'm going to write about this problem. This is who I'm for. This is my point of view about a problem. Those people are going to start having attention based on you because you're talking about what they need. So I like to
Mm-hmm.
flip it that because trust me, I'm the perfectionist procrastinator. When you try to fit in a box, here's my niche, here's my audience, and it's overwhelming and it's anxiety filled, right? So when you flip it that way, you're like, oh, I'm here to do X, Y, and Z. I can write about that. I can get out there doing that. And then, of course, more nuances there and then position yourself for that. But that's one way to get around the I help everyone. You can,
Yeah.
for
You,
sure.
you can. It's hard to get there. Although this connects with the idea that you can't help everyone. You need to write a story, which in other words, my thinking is you need to have content. Now, content is, to me, a tough issue to have to deal with because, to be honest, it's gotten a whole lot easier for me since OpenAI because
Hmm.
I always got stuck on that first draft. If I could get the first draft done, then the rest of it flows. But I'm not, I want you to coach me on putting together effective content.
Yes. Okay. I love that you're asking this because visibility is not vanity. We need to be valuable and out there. We need to share ideas and what we're about and how we help people. Otherwise, they'll never know us. So you're right. Content is the fuel of the internet, if you will, right? But the problem is, just like you say, I need to write something. And then you're like, oh, what do I write? What am I going to say? And that keeps us held back. Exactly how I see my clients. So bringing it back to my framework for my personal branding work, which I call my brand GPS, which I've repositioned and renamed in the last several months. Think of it as this. You don't want to get on a journey. You don't want to just go to Disney World when you don't even know where you're going. So say you want to write about Disney World, but you don't know anything about it. So you're just going to write about something, but you've got to do the work first. Okay. So I'm putting in context. If you want to go somewhere, you want to talk about something, you got to do the research. So I created this framework called the brand GPS. We'll make it super easy for you to write, because you'll know exactly who you are, your points of view and your beliefs, who you're here to help, their pain points and their challenges, how you're unique in helping that. And then you can get out there and have a profile and some guardrails. Then number 5 is publishing. All that's easier. You know exactly who you are, what you believe in, because let's put it this way, we need points of view. Like you just said, you use ChatGPT. It's generic and boring, right? It's a great tool, but you need to put your input into it, your thoughts, your beliefs, because that's going to attract the right people to you. So what I'm saying is get all the legwork done before your journey to get out there and start publishing. It will be super easy, or a lot easier, when you know who you're writing for and what are they struggling with, and how I look at it in a different way, because this isn't 2005 anymore, right? Social media has taken over the world, open AI. There's so much out there. So we have to be so narrowly defined in who we're here as far as how we're going to show up. That's how people pay attention to us. That's how you get engagement. So those are just some thoughts. Foundation first, for sure.
And that also runs right back to, if you have your target audience, you know who you're writing for.
Exactly. And what keeps them up at night, and what do they need? Because anyone, listen, if you're writing content that you can Google or throw out from ChatGPT, why even do it? Like, this is almost like a red flag for right now where we are in the world. Use these tools. Of course, use these tools. They help you. I use them all the time when I'm stuck on one thing, but please don't put a ChatGPT first draft out there. It's going to be so generic and boring, because everyone does that. That makes us a commodity, right? There's nothing special. So going back to storytelling, personalization, humanization, and why I do what I do, we need the people who have what we need. So you need to be equipped with all that, so the people you're here for, that someone, not everyone, knows, oh, wow, they're writing some amazing stuff. I get it. This is exactly what I need. Because at the end of the day, business is about solving a problem anyway, right? So that's what I'm just helping you do. Humanize, personalize, build relationships to attract and help the right people.
What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes people make? Yeah, those of us, I don't do that, but those of us who are making mistakes, I don't make mistakes.
I know, right?
But
We
what are
all
some of the
do.
biggest mistakes that we're making out there?
In what context, though? That's another
In
thing.
the content of branding
Oh,
our personal and professional LinkedIn things. I think one mistake might be that we don't brand them both. We don't connect them.
yeah, for sure. Especially on LinkedIn. Okay, there's so many myths and things I could go on forever, but I think to me, the biggest thing, and what I strongly believe in, with a strong foundation, much like you write a house or build a house, you need a blueprint and a plan. I think people just jump out there and just want to go out there because they're so excited to help people, but they don't have the guardrails. So just arming yourself with a little bit of knowledge or a little bit of insightfulness on about who you are, who you're here to help. I know you're going to get tired of me saying this, but it's a foundation. It's like when you build a house, you got to have the concrete, you got to have the wood, right? Without that, you don't have a solid way to get out there and to build momentum. And that's the thing. You want to have that somewhat clarity, a starting point, because it's going to give you momentum. It's going to help you feel confident. Oh, people are engaging, people are listening, people like what I read. I'm here to help people and they like it. So I think with a little bit of foundation first, because you'll see, listen, since when we spoke 2 years ago, personal branding went nuts. Like, it became the fad. It was always a little cliche for me. I don't even like using the word because it's a cliche, but it's the search term, right? So it just got everywhere on LinkedIn. It just blew up. And so people were anyone and everyone were putting personal branding, this, that, or I do social media, and they called everything personal branding, which would annoy me because I'm here for the strategy part to give you the clarity and a roadmap. And I get it. People, it's like a goal rush, right? I'm going to go out and get part of the goal rush. But the thing about it is, much like a company brand is set with a strategy and a foundation, which doesn't sound exciting. That's another thing. We want to go out and do the logo and the colors and all those things. But guess what? Without the idea of what those mean, you're going to waste money, waste time, waste your sanity. Or like Michelle, she'll tell you, we write about in her book, she just went out and did everything. And right now she is spending an exorbitant amount of money rebranding her business because she didn't know what she was doing before. And nothing wrong with that, but you want to save yourself some time and legwork. Just that little work will really pay off in the long run.
Michelle, can I say this to you? From the last time we spoke a couple years ago to this time, you kind of remind me of something that is a bit of a challenge for myself. So I'll just be honest, looking for the fast way to do things.
Yes.
That's a big mistake.
That's a big one. I'm guilty of it too because I'm impatient. I'm so impatient. Is that why you want to do the fast things? And we're conditioned now, right? Everything comes with a touch of a button, right?
Everything comes with a touch of the button, and then we have the other thought leaders out there thinking specifically of Gary Vee. He thinks you should be putting up 12 things a day,
Yeah.
12 postings a day on all different things. And it's possible, but is it good?
Gary Vee has a huge team behind him. When he was
Yeah.
starting out in 2006 on YouTube with Wine World, he was one platform saying the one message, being consistent. I think he forgets. See, that's the curse of knowledge, or you've been doing it for so long, you forget. And it's, look, we're only human. We have other parts of our lives. We want to get out there. Build a brand is not, it's not at the simple button. Remember that old commercial? You press the red button or whatever it was, the
Yeah.
easy, simple button.
Easy,
But it's
easy button. Yeah.
easy button. But it doesn't have to be hard either, and it doesn't have to take a long time when you have that foundation. So that's the thing. It's an asset. It's like compound interest. You're going to grow it, but you're not going to grow it overnight, and you're not going to grow it with one thing you do. You got to keep being out there. But so this is one of our pet peeves, Michelle. If you go on our podcast, we have moments where we say, I'm getting gritty. Well, we like to call out stuff because we see so much stuff on LinkedIn. So we like to put a different lens on things. One of the things that really gets us gritty is when people say, this is the way and there is no other way. Just like Gary Vee, right? Here's the thing. He's brilliant. He's a multimillionaire. I get it. I'm not faulting him. But it doesn't matter what he says, but does it work for you internally, for your people you're here, your industry? There's so many nuances. You have to take things with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Speaking of your podcast, I'm thinking that was just last week. Yeah, it was last week. Might have been. Talking about this purging thing, getting how maybe it's necessary to purge. Tell me about that. And let's talk a little bit about this, your concept of purging. Why? In other words, I looked at it and said, no, I'm not getting rid of my articles. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
not your
yeah,
articles,
yeah,
your people,
yeah,
your connections.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
keep your
yeah.
content. Your content is your assets. So what it is, I think it's almost over, but in the last month or two, LinkedIn, if people would wake up overnight and depending on their accounts, they'd have hundreds to thousands of followers gone. Like, what happened? Well,
Yeah.
LinkedIn was purging. We called it the big purge. Inactive accounts, fake accounts, all the things that just weren't up to the terms and conditions. So they wiped out, I don't know how many, but probably millions of fake accounts.
Which is
LinkedIn
good.
right now, yeah, it's very good. They're hovering, I think by the end of the year or maybe early next year, they'll probably be up to 1 billion people on the platforms. It was time for a cleanup, right? Spring cleaning is what they were doing.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. Now, we even tell you how 2 years ago, she and I did that too. And I'll tell you the context of why I did it and she did it. She was in the B2B beauty supply industry in B2B sales. I was in insurance and legal and B2B professional services. I said on the podcast, look, I realized if I take off some of my connections that will never get, they never were on LinkedIn. They were not in the industry I'm writing about, and a lot of them were retired. I'll have a cleaner, healthier account because what LinkedIn does is shows a percentage. Every time you post, somehow their algorithm will show you like a small percentage to your connections. So if these people are not on LinkedIn or they never go, so you just have dead weight, so to speak. So I cleaned about 2,000 people off. Nothing personal, just, it was just a different industry. So it gave me a fresh take on things. I have a better chance of the algorithm hitting the people, so to speak, of who's going to see it. She did the same thing because she was now writing about LinkedIn, and these people could care less about LinkedIn. So just as we go through our stuff, Glenn, we clean house, we get rid of clothes we don't use anymore, odds and ends. It's just good to do that. It takes a while, but it's worth it. But LinkedIn did that for us, for the people who are illegal or not illegal, but inactive spam
Fake,
accounts.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. So quality over
So
quantity.
like I said, I started out before I listened to it with the wrong concept of it, but now I started thinking, okay, maybe I should go in and certain industries. So like I used to, think we talked about this before, and don't think the audience really knows this anymore. I used to be a keynote speaker, and I still do it on rare occasions. But I had so many, and I have so many training people who are speakers and trainers on my LinkedIn, and they're like me. I don't need to learn anything from anybody else. So they're not following. I'm taking from the podcast that what we're saying is trim that down and you'll get a better results and your content will be put out there more. So if I went in and just pulled up the search for like speakers and trainer consultants and things like that, then I could just quickly just go through there and just remove them.
Absolutely. And I will find on our show notes, if you want that episode, we can link it, because Michelle did this for her B2B clients. She actually recorded a YouTube video on how to do that, a mass way to do it, because what she and I did over 2 months, I remember this 2 years ago, I'd pull up my phone, go through my connections, and it took a long time. So she has a little bit faster way to do it if someone has an exorbitant amount of connections. It's not something you have to rush and do. It's just something to think about. And especially if you switch entire industries, professions, and you say, you know what, I'm going to get on LinkedIn, and these people probably will never want to read my stuff. So it's almost like a clean slate. And it's nothing personal. I keep wanting to stress that. It's nothing against these people. It's just a marketing decision. You know?
Does that hurt? Okay, so approaching 20,000. If I do that, I'm sure I'm going to drop all the way back down to 15, 10,000, someplace in that. Okay. How does that hurt my content being put out there?
No, don't you want to, like, listen, I don't know the algorithm. I don't work for LinkedIn, but just from what I've seen and trained people on, the algorithm shows your content to a cross section of people. And no one really knows the algorithm on that. So if these people are never going to care about or interested in your posts, it just seems that logically that when you have people are more in your industry or your interest area, perhaps that you will get a like or an engagement or something. But on the flip side, we have to remember it's quality over quantity. We're going for people here. A lot of people on LinkedIn still do not read posts. So when you cut people, just say, is this person going to be someone that down the road? Or for me, it was a definite no. I was never going back to insurance or legal, like across the board. So you just have to think about it. Again, I don't want to preach this. It's all or nothing. You got to think about the things, these thoughtful things, and see if it's right for you. And that's what Michelle and I preach. Do not just take blanket advice. Make sure it's right.
That's why I didn't do it. I remember I think you put that out on June 6th. That's why I didn't do it June 7th. So let me sit down and think about it for a minute. Yeah. But I'm wondering, though, for all the other people who have been paying attention to this branding, and it feels like that when you're branding, you want to brand it professional because you want to keep people out of your personal life. But that doesn't work, does it?
Yeah, ever since the pandemic, where people have been more peeled back, so to speak, and LinkedIn you'll see is more noticeable that way. I get it, though. Here's the thing. I am the most extroverted person you'll meet in real life. I love people. I love to connect and talk. But you put me on LinkedIn, especially 3 years ago when I really got active, and being from insurance and legal, very buttoned up area, it was hard for me to, and I still see, it's weird because I'm so animated and energetic. So I have a lot of clients that way too. So what I tell them, because when you think personal branding, it's got to be personal, right? I also want you to realize you don't confuse having a personality with a personal brand. That's one thing too. So what I like to tell my clients is, listen, be professional, not professional. And that's a blend of being personable. You don't have to be personable. Show some little parts, seasoning who you are. You don't have to show your deepest, darkest secrets or show your family. I know some people, I don't want to show my family, and I respect, fine. You got to do what's right for you. So you do one part personable, so we get to know you as the person, the humanization side I talked about, and then you still should be professional because we want to know about what you think about your expertise. It is still a business platform, so we want to know you're here to whatever context in the business scene. So it's a nice blend because we're all well-rounded, right? We're not, hopefully, one way or the other. And so this brings the best of both worlds. And when you have permission to say, I don't have to be personal, just personable.
I love that. That's one of those writable moments. Love that.
Thank you.
Here's getting close to the final question in respect for your
Hmm.
time. But what are you doing now? I asked you this 2 years ago, but what are you doing right now that will help people like me and other leaders be better on LinkedIn or be better, period? I'm asking that for twofold. I want you to really tell us how to get a hold of your book.
Okay.
Okay. And I also want to know things like, are you giving keynotes? Are you teaching classes? What are you doing? Tell us, what are you doing right now that helps?
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you said that. Thank you for asking because that is my brand. I'm always wearing yellow to be positive, to help people have clarity and help them put themselves out there because I was stuck on the sidelines for 5 years. I did talk about that in my other episode. Right now, what am I doing? I am loving just getting out there. So I have two podcasts. One of them's coming back. The single one's coming back. I put on hiatus when I started this other one and writing the book. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
podcasting weekly. And every month I scaled back. 2 years ago, I was doing everything, and now I've had the happy medium because I was doing too much. So once a month, I have a LinkedIn audio room called Establish Yourself. It's how to brand your authority on LinkedIn. People can come. It's usually it's like the third Thursday of every month. I'll have it on my profile, and I invite people in, and we network. And people can come up and ask me branding questions, or I'll help them look at their LinkedIn profile and say, hey, what about this? What about that? So they can get some real time help. So I do that. Also, once another part of it, I joined Michelle Raymond, also our mutual friend Brenda Meller, who's a LinkedIn expert as well. We have a LinkedIn audio room called LinkedIn Trifecta Talks. Same thing. We help you with personal branding, LinkedIn, and Michelle in the B2B growth space. So
Hmm.
come answer. You can answer questions. We give you kind of like free help because we really want people to get unstuck and on their way. So I'm also going to be launching some. I'm still writing my second book, and I'm going to be launching some more in this fall. I'm going to be launching some masterclass trainings and a cohort to. I just need to scale my impact. Like I've been in business for a while, but now I realize, like most of us, how do I scale what I do to reach more people and help more experts, really build their brands, and just really grow their future is what I'm helping them do.
Okay. Okay. So are you doing keynotes? Are you doing,
Yeah, I'm doing keynotes. I am speaking. I got to speak at my alma mater several months ago. So I do
okay.
speaking
Okay.
and I love training, doing workshops too. I love to teach. So I do one on one right now. I'm going to be doing cohorts, some masterclass trainings, and then I'm doing a lot. Now, here's the thing when you're building your brand, there's either a desire to stay hidden or once you get that clarity, you're like, oh, I got to get out there. Just like we talked about Gary
Yeah.
Vee.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you risk burning out, overdoing it. You've got to protect yourself. The oxygen mask theory, when we travel, I always thought as a kid, why is the mom supposed to put her mask on first and not the kid? Now I get it.
And let
So
me die. Yeah.
exactly. So you got to protect your fellows first. But you got to, this is what I teach my clients because they're like, well, I want to do nothing or I want to do all the things. I'm like, what's the happy medium that's going to sustain you? They use a word on LinkedIn a lot called consistency. That's okay, but I like the word commitment. You have a commitment to yourself, a commitment to the person that you are here
Hmm.
for to help, but also commitment to know that I've got to do this on a basis that'll keep me committed and sustainable. Because I went from doing nothing to doing too much. Last year I hit the wall a little bit. I was like, oh, I can't do all. So we have to
Yeah.
protect ourselves and know, look, we're only human. We can only do so much. But building the brand is that asset that just grows, pays off. Like when you're sleeping, people know you and stuff. So there is a payoff for stuff like that.
Mm. Wonderful. I tell you, I'm glad we got to do this again. And I don't want to wait 2 years again because there's still
I
more
know.
that you can teach and all that. I would be curious though. You heard this question last time. So here it comes again. What's something that I should have asked you that I did not ask you? What's the
Oh,
question I should have asked you that I did not ask you?
I love questions that get me stumped. Probably in the last 2 years, what's my biggest? Probably a very generic but boring but insightful. What did I win and lose on in the last 2 years? I wouldn't say lose, but lessons learned. Because
Okay,
we all
see,
can
and
learn
that
from that.
points that causes you to tell a story, which goes back. Okay, so what lessons did you learn over the last 2 years?
Okay. Well,
What
the
brought
branding
you?
lesson in itself, because I like to tell my clients I'm your guinea pig. I try it all. I try to. The thing I haven't tackled yet is a TEDx, but that's down the road. The biggest thing 2 years ago, I was doing everything. I had a podcast, a LinkedIn live show, two
Hmm.
Clubhouse shows. I think you and I met on Clubhouse originally. posting every single day back in 2021. I was part of that challenge. I'm sure there's other things top of my head. I was working in my thing, and I also had another gig as a personal brand strategist with an agency that I had 25. I was doing too much. I had too much workload, too much. And although I loved it, I realized I can't sustain it. That's why the commitment. So I had to do a double take. Another thing that was happening is that people would knock on my door, so to speak, my virtual LinkedIn door.
Yeah.
Hey, I like what you're doing. Can you help me with this and that? And I'd get off track. I wasn't speaking truly what I wanted to do. I talk about it in my podcast. You can go in episodes, and Michelle was like, when I got off track. And I was doing really well on LinkedIn, and people would ask me to do LinkedIn work. And then I realized after a while, it didn't light me up. I had to use my branding, marketing, PR experience. So anyway, it's a lesson learned when you're getting out there. You want to have some kind of guardrails, right? Who you are. You're going to test. You're going to get clarity. You're going to get confidence, but you're going to learn about yourself, and you're going to learn what lights you up and what doesn't. Yeah. And that's the biggest lesson. You don't know unless you try, and you don't learn until you get out there. And I learned, and I love that I learned these lessons, because it's now 100% making me super narrow in my niche, super narrow in what I do, simplifying my products, simplifying my life. And so I can help more people. And that's ultimately what I want to do. So that's my 2-year story.
Kind of like that, because what you actually said, I translated it to say, okay, Glenn, get more targeted with yourself.
Yes.
Get more targeted with I'm pretty well targeted now on the audience we want to reach with this podcast and everything else. Get more targeted with yourself, which, that's good. That's good. I want to thank you so much for taking the time and spending the time with us again. It's so valuable. And in the show notes, we'll have your podcast and the know when you're doing by yourself. I found your podcast to be really, with you and the other Michelle, I found that to be really useful. So I started saying, let me go back and listen to some more. But time is so much. You only have so much time, but I do want to listen to more.
They're short and actionable. So they're like 20 minutes or less, and we give you an actionable takeaway. That's how our book was too, short and actionable. But I just want to thank you for coming back 2 years later, just catching up, hearing all the differences, updates. The best bucket list thing was writing this book that has been on my bucket list since I was in 7th grade to write a book. So I'm pretty proud about that. But I just share it. So thank you for letting me have the space and the place to share it and to hopefully impact more people by this.
I think you will. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for connecting with us here at Touchstone Publishers. Please join our group Essential Leadership Skills and share your leadership knowledge with us all.